Are we ready to party?
Yes.
I think today is going to be the day. Like today is exactly. Oh God.
You okay? Oh.
Yeah. No, I don't know how much I'm ready for it. And obviously my wife is going to make this an amazing podcast, banging around pots and pans and stuff in the background.
I think she's a wonderful person, and I love everything she does.
I do too.
I like John more than you right now.
Wow, Jesus. Okay. All right. Well, you know what? With that, let's go ahead and get this sucker started, shall we? Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, everybody, to Air 404, Episode 2. I am, they call me Toby 2, also known as Tobias Doesken, and with me, as always, is DFlicks, a.k.a. the director, John Johnson.
I should have had my headset out for that opener. I didn't realize it was going to be in my head.
You know what? And now that you pointed it out, it really is like the most ominous sounding.
I figure we're bringing like we're going to war. We're going into like fight demons, or I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing an alternate version of it that we're releasing today.
That's size entrance music. Like everybody expects, like when it pops up, it's just gonna be psychotic.
Yeah, just saying like how to kill people 1-on-1.
So how have you been since the last podcast there, John?
Actually, okay. Been slept most of the week. And then got up and started making movies. Like movies,
or are you talking about the stuff that you've been showing me for He of Crows?
Well, there was He of Crows, and then we've been working on the Sin Eater, and I actually murdered Jen's sister in the other room last night, night before. Oh, that's a separate topic.
Been quite active.
Yes, and then the first investor check arrived for Shark, You Son of a Bitch. So I start writing that like now. Yeah, that's all kind of coming together.
I have been extensively busy at work. Good Lord. Okay, so mute because I don't care about other people's Twitch right now. But I've been extremely busy at the new job. Absolutely loving it. Got a lot of traveling coming up over the next 2 months. Going to be gone back for a couple of days, gone back for a day, gone back for 3 or 4 days, gone for 2 weeks.
So usually after you have a live, I have to follow your live with a Toby's errors and omissions. I was able to do this. Now, you told everybody that I was saying that we were going to try to film in the next week while you had 1 day off. I did not say that. No.
That is not what I said.
That is what you said.
That is not what I said. What I said is you contacted me. You're like, oh, well, you're going to be in the area. We'll get together and we'll film some stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to have the time. You're going to be like, what? No, you're not there like all day and night, right? Like, well, we'll figure something out.
And I'm like, I said we could see each other, not film stuff. Filming would come later. I was talking about the next 3 months.
John, COVID's still a thing, man. We can't.
I get tested.
I don't, and those aren't COVID tests that you're doing.
Oh, they don't go in the rum?
No.
Oh,
we talked about that.
I thought it was a rim shot.
Oh God. All right.
Well, if anything, I'm really clean now.
Right.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
What is our first topic today?
Our first topic is something that comes into pretty much everybody's live, but I figure we'll just talk it out, which is Marvel versus DC and why.
That comes in everybody's live?
I get it all the time. Everybody comes up to you like Marvel, do you like DC? I've seen you get asked that.
I get waffles or pancakes or what's your favorite color? Or,
I've seen somebody ask you about Marvel and DC before.
Or where do you live?
Don't answer that one. Don't answer that one.
I always do. Well, the wife is going to get me a small globe that every time somebody asks, I can go Nicaragua.
Yes, I'm beside the hut with the Earth and the science.
So I will give me just a second here to pause.
Sure.
Everybody that's here, whether it be on Twitch or on YouTube, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we're not fielding comments or anything like that coming from anybody. So just kind of chill out, sit back, just relax, listen to the conversation, listen to my dog whine and cry in the background like he's probably going to do for about the next, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes because I'm going to have my wife switch him out so I don't have to deal with that. So other than that,
just imagine it's my live.
Oh yeah, he never paid attention to comments anyway. Oh yeah, I get what's the spinny thing? Oh my god. Give me a second. I hate to do this, but I gotta.
All right.
I'm not gonna do it in time. So
Plan 9 is available on Amazon Prime. You can also find Spade Fable on Amazon Prime. Crying in the Rain. I have directed a show called Spooky Tales, which is a recreation of scary stories to tell in the dark, available on YouTube now. Fear Fighter is available as an interactive movie game, also available on YouTube in 2 different fashions. There is the unrated version and the PG-13 version. You can take your pick. You can go to the Kings of Horror, watch a documentary on me called Return to Plan 9. Plan 9 is also available on the Xbox 360, the Xbox One. It is available on the PS4 and the PS3. You can find me on, under your bed at night. I live in that place in between sleep and wake. Like when you're halfway asleep and you're kind of looking at the closet and you think somebody's looking back at you, it's me with my one eye. I don't believe.
Know where my wife is.
If you want to sign up for the Toby Space Force, all you have to do is write to ditties@dflicks@gmail.com.
Oh god.
I believe that lizard people wear aluminum foil, and that's how they get smarter. They also handle baked potatoes. I think baked potatoes are alive. I think next time you cut into a baked potato, you should think about that because they are a living plant of, seed or something like that. They're actually I think they're extraterrestrials. I'm very upset with people who take the toilet paper and put it over. I think it should go under. I think Oprah is a fiend and is only out to steal your potatoes. So protect your potatoes from Oprah.
Christ. All right, future reference.
Yes.
No more 4 to 4:30 time frame.
Okay.
He's just sitting back there screaming. There was no time. All right.
I gave insightful information while you were gone.
I heard it was. I liked it, and I do apologize to everybody for me suddenly just disappearing.
We got over it.
Oh, Grimlock says he's still waiting on Spade versus Sai. Interesting.
You want to talk about this?
No.
What I went through?
No. Are you done with me giving you shit about that now? I take it.
No, it's not that. I literally. Never mind. I've had a rough day with the post office, and 93 packages at $1.40 each, and then the machine shuts down when I'm going to pay for it. I had to plug in each address. $93 worth at $1.40 each, and then the machine shut down.
Did you know you can get that all done like at your house? It'll print out labels and you just tape them right to the packages. And
no, when you go after hours, you have to go through the whole process again because they print your printing and your label in the same thing.
Oh,
yeah.
Anytime we ship stuff, we usually just ship it right from the house until the post office can pick it up.
No, I have to go through a process. I live in the city.
That sucks.
Yes, it does.
All right,
but
so let's get into it. Before I had to chase chickens, we were talking about Marvel versus DC.
Yeah.
Now, we're not talking about a versus in the way of, which one is better.
Not yet.
Like that, right? Like
we'll get into that later. But so for now, it's just a generalization.
Okay. So you want to know favorite characters, likes, dislikes, things like that, right?
Yeah. What if you prefer Marvel or DC, and then what are the reasons that they get you to go to that side?
Well, I will tell you this: the reason I go to DC at all is the villains are just better.
Yeah.
The DC by far has the better villains.
Absolutely. Batman alone has a rogues gallery of gold.
Well, I think Batman has a good 80% claim of the villains in DC that are worth anything.
And Marvel, to be honest, Marvel definitely based a lot on the stuff. I mean, Joker has been done 1,000 times over from every comic book writer. I stay to. There's 3 heroes that I stick to. Well, there's 2 heroes I stick to on the DC for that side of it, which is Superman and the Flash. Mm-hmm. But I will admit that if you don't read those comics thoroughly, Marvel has way better superheroes that you can attach to a lot faster. But if you read Superman over time, you would get more out of it. But I think people just kind of gloss over him a little bit because he's just too powerful, I think is the way they look at it.
He's been around so long, and he's really not. I mean, he's not superhuman. He's an alien.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas now, I will say that Marvel really doesn't deal with aliens as much as DC does. I mean, they have a genre of it, but not quite as much. Extra interdimensional stuff happens all the time in the DC universe.
Well, the biggest problem that DC had at the beginning was that none of DC's heroes were flawed, where Marvel's heroes were flawed. They had human instincts that made them make mistakes.
Right.
And DC at the beginning didn't do that. DC was they were inventing superheroes. So they were literally these guys are just what you want to be kind of thing.
Everything is awesome.
Yeah. Superman's first villain was Hitler. It's true.
Wait, what?
The first villain that Superman encountered was Hitler in the comic book. That he was written in 1938. He was fighting. He was swimming over, and there's a great comic book of the guys Nazis looking through a submarine thing, and Superman's swimming towards the submarine. It's just perfect.
I've got to see that. Is that?
Oh yeah, you can Google that.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Hitler was one of it before Lex Luthor. Or he was called. He was an atom guy at first. He was a scientist before they made him a businessman. But yeah, it was Hitler.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Okay, so we all learned something new today. To include Jackson Johnson Spade, who has joined us.
Hey kid.
Hey kid.
Yeah, and then also Superman could not fly until I believe the TV show. In the radio show, he could leap over a building in a single bound, but he could not fly.
Is that why? I wonder if maybe that's where leap over a building in a single bound came from, because he couldn't fly. They were like, "Oh, look at the feat that he can do."
Right? Yeah, it was. They would say it in the radio show, and then I think it was when George Reeves played him that he was jumping out of windows and never coming back down.
Just
yeah,
he can fly. So that's the one thing about Superman. Mm-hmm. That I dislike is that every year Superman seems to gain another power that people nobody even knew about.
Yes and no. So they at one point in time Superman did get really ridiculously powerful, and they actually backtracked a lot from that. He blew out a star with his breath. He got to the point where it was just impossible. But he does have 2 weaknesses that no one ever talks about. Yeah.
Well, now are you talking about physical weaknesses? Because one is humanity in general.
Yeah, well, so you have kryptonite, which is the go-to.
Right.
But it's also followed up by magic. He is completely, he can be aggressed by magic, and he can't stop magic.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of his weaknesses. No one thinks about that, but anytime what was the girl, Zatara? She can knock the shit out of him anytime.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then the other one is his anger.
His anger?
He has a huge anger problem. He
all that teenage angst from being abandoned by his parents.
There is this beautiful comic called the Final Crisis, and in Final Crisis, Darkseid is wrecking shop. I think the kills Batman right off the bat. It just literally going ape shit. Superman loses his cool, flies through his army. His entire army collapses. and then he actually gets to Darkseid and says, "I can hurt you," and like it just cuts away. Like the Superman's anger gets him to a point where he'll destroy like the world.
Well, so it's not. I mean, I guess it could be a weakness, but really, it kind of at the same time makes him stronger. It's just uncontrollable strength.
Right, but to him, it's a weakness because he would lose control of what he's doing and therefore can be beaten.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. One of the things he did in Final Crisis is he gave the Barry Allen a piece of kryptonite and said, "You can kill me at any time by running as fast as you can. I won't be able to see you, and put this in my heart. If I ever get out of the control, take me down."
Wow.
Yeah, that was a great comic.
See, I've never been a huge DC reader. I honestly didn't really get into DC until they took my favorite DC character and merged him with one of my favorite Marvel characters.
What's that?
When they made the what was it? Agalagam, you know what I'm talking about? When they were merging, and they did Dark Claw, where they merged Batman with Wolverine.
Okay. I've seen pictures. I haven't read it.
It's phenomenal. It's actually really good, and all the different characters. You know, like Catwoman was merged with the character from Marvel, and Joker was merged with the character from Marvel, and it was just, everything on it was great. It was a really good read. It was really well written. Artwork in there is absolutely phenomenal, and Dark Claw looks like an absolute badass. Like imagine an animalistic primal Batman, and that's Dark Claw. So take all the things that Batman can already do and give him an adamantium skull or skeleton with claws and that Wolverine rage.
Did you ever read Flashpoint?
I didn't.
So in Flashpoint, Bruce Wayne dies and the father becomes Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And he's actually got red eyes and 2 pistols.
And the mother becomes the Joker, right?
Right.
Yeah. I've heard really good things about it. I've never gotten to.
Yeah, I'm really hoping when they do Flashpoint coming up that they get into that, because that character was amazing.
So what about Marvel? So who's your go-to? And like, I love Batman just because Batman truly is not a superhero. Like, first of all, he's a vigilante. He's a loved vigilante. That's all. I mean, honestly, that's what he is. But there's nothing about him personal that's like extra special. It's just his dedication to things that makes him what he is. His dedication to, he's got really extremely high intelligence.
Yeah. He's also crazy. Like,
well, yeah.
That's what I love how Michael Keaton played him. Like, Michael Keaton was always distracted when he's talking to people. Like, he drifts off because he dresses up like a bat every night. He's not there. So like he drifts off and then he comes back. He's like, "Oh yeah, you were talking to me." Like, I love how he played that.
Okay, so since we're talking about that real quick, and we're still on this Marvel versus DC kick, let's talk about the Batman movies. How do you rank? And I'll include the TV show because there was that horrible Batman movie made.
Oh yeah, shark repellent.
Yes, shark repellent.
Yeah.
What is rank your Batmans?
Well, I mean, I have no good reason for it, but Michael Keaton obviously holds because of nostalgia. Like, I can't say, I mean, I didn't like Bale because of the voice. I didn't like the whole approach to those movies at all. Like, I remember the third one where he's talking to Robin. He's like, "I see you have sad eyes, therefore I know you're Batman." It was just the weirdest conversation that I was like, "How? There's a whole city full of people. Everybody's got sad eyes. What the fuck are you talking about?" Like it was just like it was so weird to me. I was like, "This doesn't make any sense." And then the first movie, because who was it? Liam Neeson was the bad guy, so he was Ra's al Ghul, so he couldn't do fight scenes. So they had to zoom the camera in to show like elbows moving and shit like that, so it looked like he's actually doing more than he's actually doing. I don't know who won any of those fights. I've seen that movie a bunch of times. I know some elbows were doing some damage, but I have no idea who won any of those fights. I'm sorry. These are love films, but they weren't made for me.
Well, that's one that they introduced Scarecrow in, right?
Now that Scarecrow was cool. I did like him.
He played an amazing job.
Actually, to be honest, the video games, the Arkham games, those were outstanding. Like,
Oh, yeah.
those were so
Arkham
cool.
Asylum, Arkham City, all that. Yeah.
Those are awesome.
Okay, so we know that Bale is apparently your least favorite. No, it's not, because we've discussed this.
Yeah. No. So okay, I think Clooney is the worst Batman. I think Clooney is one of the best Waynes.
Yes.
I think Val Kilmer was one of the best Batmans, but it was a terrible Wayne.
Yes.
And Keaton was the most interesting Wayne because Keaton and Nicholson didn't really look at the comic too much. They just kind of did their own take on the characters. Because like Jack Nicholson is Jack Nicholson's Joker, but he's not really the Joker. He's like his own version of it.
He did a really, he's probably the closest to, the campy Batman TV show Cesar Romero version of the Joker.
Yeah, I mean that's what he grew up with. Probably.
Very similar. Very similar.
But I mean, he's a great performance, but I wouldn't say he's the best Joker. Mark Hamill is.
Well, here's the thing: when you start talking about and this is something that gets discussed in my lives a lot on TikTok, is who's your favorite Joker, and that's an extremely difficult question to answer, to field, because there's so many different Joker variants throughout the comics. And then you talk about, like the cartoon, the animated series, and all these other things. There are so many different Jokers, and I have yet to see, and that's why I brought up Romero and Nicholson being very similar, because those are the only two that have even come close to playing similar Jokers. The rest of them are all different Jokers that have been covered throughout the comics and throughout the storylines.
There are two classic movies. I think the Joker's based off a black and white film called The Man Who Smiles, if I'm thinking about that correctly. And then Batman is it's a movie where he's a guy. It's like an old dark house, and there's a bat symbol. And if it goes over, he's basically murdering all the people who did him wrong. There are two old films that Batman and Joker came from, like the ideas for them. But I mean, to be honest, Mark Hamill will be the Joker for me, and just because of games, I can't I know that it can't really count, but
he's so creepy with the voice.
So good.
He does, and it's not just like the laugh is amazing, but you could visualize him if he was a real person. Like you could visualize that Joker. Like he's just diabolical. I mean, he's insane.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite Batman villain is the Riddler. Which is
played horribly by Jim Carrey.
Yeah, but the guy who did it on the TV show was outstanding. I don't know the gentleman's name.
Amazing. Yeah, I don't know his name.
But the thing about the Riddler that I love is that the Riddler could beat Batman at any time, but he keeps giving him riddles. He can't help but to try to because he literally has to stop what he's doing. All right, let me tell him what I'm doing. Like he could just do it and be done, but he's so obsessed with Batman. Like to beat him, he has to, he literally foils himself, which I love.
You've seen that. You watched the College Humor Bad Man, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you've seen the one with the Riddler where he had he's talking about bullets, but he gave him the riddle, and he's like, "Hold on, let me try to see if I can figure this out." Is it a helicopter? And he's like, "What?"
Yeah.
No. So.
My favorite one was what was it? I was getting into an argument back in the day about Superman versus Batman. They're saying Batman was better than Superman. I said, well, anytime there's somebody's in danger and the world's going down, Superman will sacrifice himself for it. Batman sacrifices Robin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like over and over again. He's like, go get him, boy.
Why do you think there's so many Robins?
Yeah.
There's hundreds. There's that guy on TikTok. I cannot remember his name. This hilarious guy. But he does this whole thing where he's constantly Bruce Wayne, and he grabs like teenagers TikToks and kids of TikTok that are fighting or doing karate or doing something crazy. Like there was the one where he's got somebody had a toothpick and they're like, huh, fuck, and they just like a first person shot, thunk, and it sticks into a piece of wood.
Yeah,
and he goes, call the guy. He does constant videos like that where he's Batman. He's like, I don't care, Alfred. You can either call the guy or I can have you replaced. He just goes off. And everybody's like, God damn it, we're not doing this. He's like, look, there's plenty of room in the mansion for more kids. All right. Let's just get the adoption paperwork going. He's always doing it.
Did you ever see Grayson?
Grayson? Dick?
The trailer that they made for there was a fan film that was trying to get marketed in
The Panda Red. Thank you, Grimlock. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It was a trailer that was just a trailer that was shot on Super 16, where they tried to make they approached everything as Batman has died and Grayson is taking the mantle. Is the storyline, and it's an amazing trailer where every character is represented. It's just called Grayson. It came out in like 2006, I think, but it was a guy didn't get the job, but it was an amazing pitch.
I have noticed that there is one Batman that you didn't bring up, which honestly is my favorite Batman.
Affleck.
I
know, I enjoyed it. I just hated those movies so much. I'm
not saying that they were done well. I'm just saying.
No, but he was fine. I didn't have a problem with him.
I think he plays the most balanced Batman.
Well, the fight scenes felt like the video game, which I thought was fun. Like it felt like that was cool. That was cool to see.
Well, which is why I'm not going to lie to you. I am very eager to see this new Batman.
Oh, me too. It looks like a detective story, which is amazing.
Dude,
people forget he's a detective.
That trailer. Who are you? Wham, 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 wham. Justice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Batman was called the great, or like he was in Detective Comics.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the lines, Christian Bale and that whole crew just like, oh, he's not smart. He's just a ninja. Like they just literally went with like, kung fu beats everything. And there was nothing about him being like the world's greatest detective, essentially. Right. Yeah.
Honey.
He just had somebody killed.
Yes.
I saw that. I know that kill that guy over there. I know what that is.
Now she's outside trying to get the attention of a deaf dog that's halfway across the yard, just borking away. She's a bork.
How's the farm?
The farm's doing great. The farm is absolutely amazing. Chickens are still inside. Ducks are still inside. She's still getting chased down by a duck.
That's wonderful.
That is that's an angry duck all day long. The dogs are doing well. Now Tank Girl has a limp. Champ is doing better. Tank Girl's got a limp. Do you need eggs? We've got like 5 dozen.
You left a bunch last time you were here.
Oh, yes, that's right. We'll be ready for more.
Yeah, okay. I like eggs.
Okay, I like eggs.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's switch over to Marvel. Mm-hmm. Okay, Marvel. I'm honestly torn between 3 different characters. I always have been. Now, one of them came later than the other 2. I started off with Spider-Man and drinking now. I started off with Spider-Man and Wolverine. Mm-hmm. Later on, from his very first appearance in the comics, where he didn't even have a speaking role, I just loved his look and like his ability. Deadpool.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
He was supposed to be a written-in, one-time use. Just, hey, we're drawing in this guy. He's an assassin for hire. Bam. That was supposed to be it. So many letters were written into Marvel about that character that they decided, oh, we're gonna make an entire comic.
Yeah, he was. I can't remember. The big changing point for him is I can't remember the character name, but one of the villains of Ghost Rider told Deadpool that he was a comic book. Like when the character learns that he is a comic book character, like that's where the whole character just developed for me. I can't.
Yeah, the fourth wall breaking.
Yeah, it was a Ghost Rider villain. It was like maybe with an M, like Mephistopheles. I don't know. That might be a cat from New York, but it was some character told him that he was a comic book character, and then it became fun. Like that's all he is just fun.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you. The writing for Deadpool is not the greatest.
I haven't read the comic at all.
So I've read almost all of them. And the writing isn't the best, but like you said, it's a very fun comic to go through. Right. Like if you're not looking for like that in-depth, like Batman-esque kind of storyline, like real deep, like, pulls you in. Like each comic, like you could start reading Deadpool literally starting from any comic. Mm-hmm. And still not be lost because they write pretty much every comic as if every comic is like it's his first one.
Right.
There's a couple of things that you would need to know, like, okay, all of a sudden you see him having an affair with Death because he's fallen in love with Lady Death.
Okay. Oh, I remember Lady Death.
Yes. So he'll intentionally kill himself just so he can see death.
Nice.
Because he's got a love affair with her.
That's
and
good.
he's not able to die because
Regenerative.
well, he regenerates because they will not allow him to stay with death. That's their way of torturing him. Now, there's plenty of things like what we're seeing in the movies right now. Like Ryan Reynolds pulls Deadpool off perfectly.
Sure.
The first time I ever saw Ryan Reynolds in Two Guys, a Girl, in a Pizza Place.
Oh, yeah, with Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, but I had already started reading Deadpool around that time, and I was like, wait a minute. Just the way he acted and the way he sounded, like he's just kind of had that sarcasm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, this guy seems, he sounds like this guy would be a great Deadpool. And many years later, there we go. But I'm waiting for them to actually give people Deadpool's powers. Because Deadpool's not just, he's not a ninja. The guy he's extremely well trained and everything, but he was former military and things like that. And he's, of course, we all know that he can regenerate, but they don't talk about his teleportation ability. Similar to that of Nightcrawler. He just poof, poof, short distances.
I know that at all.
Yeah.
Huh.
Pretty much if he can see it, he can go there, but it's got to be within like sight. He can just disappear.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and we all know that he came after the DC comic Deathstroke. He was actually created as a mockery of Deathstroke.
Sure, that makes sense. It was the same thing with Ninja Turtles. The Foot Clan was a parody of crap. They were making fun of somebody. I think it might have been Deathstroke. Like there was a design for the Foot Clan that was a joke. So Ninja Turtles was only supposed to be a one comic. They killed Shredder in the first issue. Mm-hmm. Like it was only supposed to be one, and then they're like, oh no, we like this.
Well, have you seen the Netflix? You've seen the Netflix series? The toys that made us or the comics that made us?
No, I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it yet.
So they do the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, okay.
And I think I can't remember if it was the toys that made us or if it was the shows that made us. Because there's one with He-Man and stuff like that. But they talked to the two guys that did the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And they discussed that. Like they part ways at one point.
Oh.
Like they kind of stopped talking to each other. But they had even mentioned they wrote the one comic and they just did it, because they were like, you know what, let's make this. And they created it and they put it out, not thinking it would go anywhere. And it just blew up. And then publishers got a hold of them and was like, we need more of this. And they're like, oh no.
Yeah.
We only had one villain and we killed him.
Yeah. And they didn't have the color code yet either. Because like they all had red. Well, I think the first one was black and white, but then eventually all the turtles just had red. Like you only tell the difference between their weapons. Is the only way you can tell
the TV show and Hasbro, who created the first Ninja Turtle toys, insisted that they make them different colors so that you could tell the turtles apart.
Oh, sure. That was smart. You needed that.
Yeah. Because essentially they just used the same exact toy and just gave them different weapons. Yeah.
There were different shades of green too. Like I remember that.
But that I think that came later. I think the different shades of green came later.
Not the toys. The toys immediately were different colors. But the cartoon, I don't think they were.
Frank Gorshin. There you go. Yeah. So, the Mephisto is the person that you were thinking about. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, Mephisto.
Yeah. So I will stand by the Fantastic Four as my favorite Marvel superhero. If I had to pick one, it would be Ben Grimm.
I love Ben Grimm, and I love I love that character.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm not real big on the rest of the Fantastic Four, but I love Grimm.
Yeah. The Fantastic Four. So when Stan Lee started Marvel, it was Monster Comics. Like that's what they were doing before, and he worked for DC, and then so they made a superhero, which was Fantastic Four, which was supposed to compete with Justice League, and that's why they made Ben Grimm, was just in case it failed. They're like, oh no, it's really a monster thing, and they would go into him as a monster. But I love Barry Allen. I love the science talk of it, the ideas of the theories and how things would work in that kind of weird fictional area. The characters are like they're super strong to me. Like every time that they want to introduce a new world or new villain, they essentially just have Fantastic Four find a dimension, and then those characters like Marvel Zombies came from them, and then followed by the Hulk.
You love OP'd characters. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the Hulk as well. I absolutely love the Hulk. OP, overpowered.
Grim isn't overpowered.
Grim's not. But let's take the other three that you've mentioned as your favorites. You know, if we take from both sides, Superman, the Flash, who's definitely OP.
Flash is actually, I'll argue the Flash is not overpowered.
What?
Because there's a difference between the reason why Flash is my favorite superhero of all time is that if he uses his power to a certain extent, it'll kill him. So he can't. He has limitations where Superman can just go and go and go. Flash can do something, but at the risk of his own life. And I love that idea.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's unlimited. He's got unlimited power to a limitation, meaning he can do it once.
Yeah.
And that's it. The Hulk is definitely overpowered. You are not going to be able to convince me that the Hulk is not overpowered.
No, but the problem with the Hulk is that his greatest villains is the Hulk. Like all his different versions of the Hulk. Which in issue 600, they finally explained why Hulk is different when he changes. I don't know if you knew this yet.
You're talking about like the difference between Green Hulk, Red Hulk, Gray Hulk.
Well, that and also how smart he is at times and like why he is able to do things. When Bruce wants to change, Hulk is smarter. Mm-hmm. When Bruce doesn't want to change, Hulk is dumber.
Well, and that makes sense because the more primal version of the Hulk has to push through to come out. Yeah.
I mean, really what got me to love Hulk was what was it? World War Hulk. That whole series was just fantastic.
I haven't read it. I've heard other people talk about it.
Yeah. So essentially, it starts off with Civil War. Well, right before Civil War. So there's a group called I think they called the Illuminati, which was all the smartest Marvel people. It was Iron Man, Reed Richards, the Atom, Professor X. They have this like group of like, we're the smartest guys. And they said, the smartest thing we can do is shoot Hulk into space. And so they send him away and he lands on a planet and it becomes like he joins an arena and he like conquers the world and he marries a bride.
Kind of like how they did Ragnarok a little bit.
Yeah, but essentially he stays there, becomes the king, rules the planet, but he made the ship his castle. And they programmed the ship to explode once they thought he would be away from it for a while, and it kills his wife. So Hulk comes back to Earth and just wreaks havoc on everyone. Like everyone.
Just everything's gonna die.
Oh yeah. But that's the thing. At the end of it, he beats everyone. And then he actually puts an arena up and makes the I think it's Iron Man, Reed Richards, Adam, and Doctor Strange fight each other. And then right as they're about to kill each other, he stops them and says, "You think I'm a monster. I'm not. I'm just stronger than you." And and that's the end. Oh, the series was just amazing.
Okay. I know that we're not really, reaching out to people that comment, but there is a comment in here that says, thoughts on Iron Man.
I like Iron Man. I mean, I think the biggest thing with Iron Man that I always loved when I was younger was it was always science versus magic. Like some of his greatest villains were magic based. They didn't really get into that too much in the movies, which I would have liked to have seen.
Well, I think they're trying to keep everything as modernized as possible when we're talking about the movies. You want this unrealistic yet somehow seemingly realistic guy in a homemade suit. He's going to need a realistic, somewhat formidable enemy, which is going to have to, using modernized weapons and things like that to fight against. Until the introduction of Doctor Strange, and then Iron Man's like, oh shit.
Because I remember they introduced his magical counterpart, but as Ben Kingsley, but it actually wasn't him. It was like he was pretending or something like that. It was I can't remember the character name, but it's basically like a wizard that Iron Man fights all the time. I like Iron Man. I think Robert Downey Jr. made it like very dynamic, like where before it was very. I didn't really get into him too much. He was the leader of the West Coast Avengers. That's all I remember.
Yeah. He was a very one-dimensional character in the comic books. There wasn't a lot of depth to Iron Man.
Yeah, until like
outside of he's the first, yeah. Well, I mean, but outside of the fact that he was essentially the first superhero to expose his true identity.
Well, that's a
and started that question. Rage war.
Do you think that Iron Man is a superhero?
No. Just like I don't think Batman's a superhero.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think
regular people that are extraordinary have extraordinary abilities, such as Tony Stark, genius.
Yeah.
Batman, incredible detective skills plus incredible physical prowess. Mm-hmm. But they use tools to their advantage to enhance their abilities.
Right. At the same, like Thor is not a superhero either. He's just a demigod. Like it's something very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoyed everything with the series. I thought it was one of the smartest things put together, like how they got through that whole series, connecting all the movies. I mean, the last thing that ever did that was the Universal Monsters, where they took all the franchises and put them into one movie. But this was well planned and well thought out, and I thought it was very well done. I'm not the biggest fan of the Marvel universe, but I enjoy them.
Were you just referring to Monster Squad?
No, it was the Universal films.
I know you weren't. I had to dump it in there because I know you and I both have a huge love for the movie Monster Squad.
I'm a big fan of Monster Squad.
Yeah,
Red Decker. Oh yeah.
So
Shane Black wrote that.
I would love, because I really do. This is one thing. There's one thing about the DC universe over the Marvel universe that really appeals to me, and this story, the character development of DC characters to me is much. It's much better written. Like there's so much more depth to the average DC, superhero or character.
Well, yeah, Marvel was always trying to
in the backstories of these characters were always better defined.
Yeah, well, DC was like, who Superman is, so let's learn new things about Superman. Where Marvel was constantly trying to get you to read comics so they wouldn't change anything with the character dynamic that you didn't already know. So you could pick up the comic at any time and be like, oh, I'm ready. I know who this is. I'm ready to go.
Like that was cool.
Yeah, that's basically how Marvel approached it. But at the same time, once the movies kicked in, which actually leads me to our next topic. When I was young, being called a nerd was a very negative term. And now, we're talking about Marvel movies. Like, we're talking about Iron Man. Just the fact we're talking about Iron Man. Like if you said that, 15 years ago to anybody, they're like, oh, that's the guy who wears metal. Like, no one would know anything about him, much less he's Tony Stark. But every household in the country now knows who the fuck he is and what he does. Yeah. Like, it's very interesting that nerd is now a positive term where it was a very negative term when I was a kid.
Yeah, I think, like we were discussing before, it's almost like when we were growing up, you had geeks and nerds and things like that, and all of these terms have become positive. And I love the fact that culture is okay with these types of the lifestyles, like people that are just so in depth into comics or card collecting and things like that. It's no longer looked at as a negative connotation.
Yeah, my theory is on why it changed is cell phones. So think back to when you were in high school. Name one jock who knew what a megabyte was. Name one jock who knew what interfaces or an iOS was. I think cell phones brought technology to everyone, and everybody started learning about technology. And then you start learning about what things can do, and then the nerds basically had the soapbox for a while. And then they were able to promote the things that they liked. And then some of these guys who, may have thought it was stupid to like comic books, related to one at one point or another. I think, honestly, it was cell phones that did it. I think that's what brought nerd tech. Because if you heard people talking about, my pixel rate on my camera is, all that kind of stuff, they would be like, oh, nerd, you push them into a corner or whatever, and they have to go sit there. But now the guys playing football are talking about is your screen 4K?
Yeah.
Just think about that statement.
I think I myself personally, I don't disagree with you, but I believe online gaming is more responsible than smartphones. Because online gaming came around well before this. I mean, you had cell phones, but you never really had like the interaction on a cell phone, or the accessibility on a cell phone until like the iPhone came out. Or once smartphones started becoming like, they no longer called them cell phones. Now they're smartphones.
Oh, sure.
So, but online gaming was a thing before that. And games like just talking about before it was online gaming, you had like the Nintendo 64, and people would be hooking up systems together to play GoldenEye.
Oh, sure. Okay, I see that.
I mean, you're talking about LAN parties, right? Like LAN parties where before you could go online, people would just hook their computers up together. And that kind of started it. And then you bring the accessibility of consoles being able to reach a multiplayer platform and being able to play online. And that's even expanded now, because now things are going cross-platform.
Oh, sure.
And so now Xbox and PC and PlayStation 4, if you're playing the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare, you've got 3 different systems that can all play together in the same exact lobby at the same exact time.
Yeah, before it was the internet, it was called something else, which had like small, like you were just connected to like, it was online, so you're using a phone line, but you'd be connected to like one server.
Yeah.
And I remember in 6th grade trying to download a picture of a naked girl. There was about 3 of us in the room, and we fell asleep. It was literally like every like hour.
You get that. You get that.
Yeah. And we all fell asleep, like waiting, and we never got to see it until the morning. And then his mom came in and saw the naked picture of the woman, because it finally loaded. And she was such a good woman that she was like, they stayed up all night just to see this. I'll come in and tell, like, she woke us up, walked away like she didn't see it. And then when we came down for breakfast, she's like, go get rid of the picture. But like at the same time, she knew how hard we were like sleeping, just reaching out for it. Please. And then like
please, I got to see boobs.
I got to see it. I waited all night.
Oh, now, I mean, that's like your number one online industry now.
Oh God, yeah. Like, I mean, it's especially with quarantine. Like,
imagine porn made 100% completely illegal online.
Oh, geez, that'd start a war more than politics. Like,
yeah,
hate shit over that.
Yes, should I make that if I run for president 2024? My first thing is all online porn is illegal.
Is illegal?
Illegal. You want to talk about uniting a country? I'll unite a fucking country.
Yeah, against you.
Hey, that's fine. Hey, you know what? If everybody is working together against the same cause, they're united. So let them hate me. Let them come after me. But if the entire country can forget about all their other problems to fight for porn, hey.
I think it's one of those things that's evolving where, like, when I was also same thing as a nerd, when you were younger, if you like met somebody who was in the porn industry, you thought like terrible things. You either thought they had like a horrible childhood, or they were, like they went down a bad path in life. And now, like, it's so normal and so commonplace that people are understanding these are just regular people too. Like, they're not, these horror stories that you get after school specials about, where it's all designed.
Well, to the point now, people are so comfortable with it that just about, you can go just about anywhere and somebody's got an OnlyFans. And don't get me wrong, not now. I will say there are connotations to that, because not everybody has an OnlyFans because they have, pornographic or risque material on it.
True.
Some people have an OnlyFans because maybe like my newscaster skits, where I can only post a minute on TikTok, but we're going to do like a 5 or 10 minute one.
Yeah. It's an opposement to,
you want to see something longer. Patreon. Yeah. And this is where you can go. And as much as I like Patreon, it's not a format that that I can do for like making additional videos or something like that, because I have to link from another website that I've uploaded the video to. I can't post the video onto my Patreon. I have to post it to YouTube and put the link from YouTube into my Patreon. Well, you just go to the YouTube. You know what I mean? But if I do OnlyFans, but now if I tell somebody, hey, I've got an OnlyFans, and that's where you're going to see my longer work. Maybe I do a storyline with Dutch. I do a storyline with Dutch, right? Like,
yeah. No, you said a good joke there. I had to. Sorry. Go ahead. You were saying.
if I were to create an OnlyFans, so I could do things like a 10-minute long, short storyline with Dutch,
Mhm.
Or something with Psychotic or one of my OCs or just, my newscaster or just a different type of skit where maybe the wife and I and the kid, we decide to write our own little sitcom where each episode is only like 15 minutes long.
Mhm.
And we do, and we write a sitcom, and that's where you could go watch it. Well, the moment I mention OnlyFans,
Yeah.
people are going to think one of two things. Oh, well, first of all, people are going to call me a sellout. That would happen. They're like, Toby's selling out, like begging for money for fans and stuff like that. The other thing would be people are going to think about porn. So they're not going there for me. They're going there to try to see naked pictures of my wife.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So OnlyFans, it would be a tough thing to do that with because it is going down a very specific road.
Right.
But it does have that technology that's very accommodating.
And but I do believe that if you get a few people that see it and they kind of spread the word about, oh, dude, you got to like this is like, he's got his own like Mad TV thing going on over there.
Sure.
It becomes a whole new thing until you can find another completely different platform. The only other way that I could do it is, let's say I could get like a Wix page and I'd make it subscription based in order to get to it.
Right.
And it posts all these things in different form. I can post it in full resolution and everything and host it on the page.
Right. Or Patreon finally just upgrades and makes that available.
If Patreon, and the reason why Patreon doesn't really do it that way is because Patreon really is more designed for artists.
Mm.
It's really designed for artists. It's not designed for videographers or people that are into film or anything like that. It really is mostly about art. But it's a way that I can offer a subscription base for, people that want to come through, and maybe when it's time for us to do fundraisers for things like for the next meetup or family reunion, that we got to raise a certain amount of money. And they're like, look, I don't have, $100 or whatever to drop, or, as much as I'd like to. Well, that's fine. You can go to the Patreon and you can do $10 a month for however long you'd like.
I mean, Darkstone, we definitely debated opening up an OnlyFans for a while, and not so much for the like sexual content, but just for the fact that like it's definitely interactive. The problem is that if Darkstone becomes affiliated with anything that's called porn, then certain companies won't work with us anymore because they'll think we're making porn. Like that's all they'll think that we're doing.
Well, but then you'd also have to think about, like we discussed before, when you got verified on Pornhub,
right?
And one of the Darkstone members came to you and says, "Hey, that's really cool, but in my profession, people know that I do film with you."
Right, exactly.
And this could be detrimental to my job.
Yeah, I didn't put anything pornographic on the site at all. I just literally put Skeleton Key Part 1. And I got verified and then got community guidelines immediately, like in the same hour.
No, please God, tell everybody how this went down, because I've never really seen you taken down for community guidelines on a video on TikTok.
It's happened, but very rare, yeah.
But tell everybody because so first of all, the thinking behind it was that you wanted to see if you could get verified on Pornhub so that you could use that to say, look, I'm verified on Pornhub, TikTok. What the hell? Like,
no. I was just wanting to take the blue check mark and put it on my picture on TikTok. That was my plan. Which I did do for a while. And so I went and got. I basically, you have to post a certain amount of stuff. You have to do the whole process of proving that you're you. Hold up your license with your face and like all that stuff to prove that it's actually you on the channel. Went through the whole process. Uploaded a movie, just Skeleton Key Part 1. It uploaded and aired. And I got verified, and then immediately got taken down for community guidelines because you're not allowed to hit yourself on Pornhub. You can hit other people.
Wait, you're not allowed to hit. So the part where you're in the hotel essentially is what got you the community guidelines?
That's what I got pulled for.
That's one of the best parts of the whole movie, besides the girl getting beat to death with the giant dildo.
That apparently is fine. You just can't hit yourself.
So you can beat a woman to death with a giant dildo.
Yeah.
But you can't punch yourself in the face.
You cannot.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. Pornhub.com.
So yeah, Pornhub.com. Not sponsored, not affiliated.
Well, yes.
Yes.
Oh, I have to make something clear. There is a Darkstone OnlyFans, but it was not made by me, and there's nothing on it other than my old logos from like 2008. So we're going to try to shut it down, but I just already knows that's not me. I don't know who that is.
Now I will tell you, there is a They Call Me Toby OnlyFans.
Yeah,
And it was created by me, but there is literally nothing on it. And the whole reason it was created was so nobody else could take my name.
Oh. Yeah, it's
the
weird
moment, the moment I hear of a new social media platform just came out,
Mhm.
I rush over to it. I create an account, and then I'm never on it again because I don't want somebody grabbing that name, taking my videos, saying that it's me. And that's happening on like 2 other platforms right now. There's people that have literally gone through and grabbed all of my stuff, but they take my profile header information and everything.
Oh wow! I think at one point I raced to get They Call Me Toby 4. So every time there's a new app that opens, if I'm logging in, I will make a They Call Me Toby 4 account. That's basically all I do.
Well, I released They Call Me Toby 4, and you immediately picked it up and gave it to Royce.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you changed from DFlicks? And I was like, oh?
Yeah, I didn't know that. We came real close. Like I had to race to get my. I didn't even think about it. You're like, oh shit! I was like, yeah, oh yeah, it was rough.
So he changed his name on TikTok, not thinking, oh, if I don't use another account, to solidify the name DFlicks, somebody else is going to grab it. Because I was like, wait a minute, you changed your name? And you're like, yeah. I was like, did you back it up on a backup account? He was like, what? I was like, yeah, because anybody can take that name now. And he's like, what? I was like, oh, no, I'm going right now. And I'm like,
yeah.
As soon as I hit save, it said this username is taken. I was like, and I looked up, and I was like, God, I go back, and he's just giggles. He's like,
yeah, oh yeah. That was a scary moment.
Like, got it.
Like, God damn it.
WeDot says, I'm going to control the Darkstone OnlyFans.
No, well, she owns everything else in my life.
This is true. Well, not every.
No one owns Mariah. Mariah owns me. All right, so the next topic I want to go over is, just want to take a moment to point out any TikToker that you want to put a shine on, get a little light in their corner.
This week, the man has got this week I would like to bring up somebody who is constantly overlooked, not by the people that actually know him, but by TikTok itself and that entire community. Just he's not seen. But let's be honest, we'll both agree he kind of has done it to himself throughout the history of his page. There's certain things that he absolutely refuses to stop doing, such as filming in black and white constantly.
I'll disagree with the black and white, but the violence he needs to stop.
Yeah, well, the violence, the use of real weapons, you know. But a phenomenal writer, a phenomenal filmmaker in general, like it works really super hard. Zombie Bride. Absolutely phenomenal creator, like brilliant, genius mind, hilarious, quick-witted. There's not enough good things I can say about him. I just wish that he would understand that what he's trying to do would probably suit him better on YouTube than TikTok.
Actually, what is Instagram's new one now? Instagram has a
Instagram Reels, and
they're for dark stuff. Like you put they're
okay with it, but he would probably do better with Instagram stories, because what he likes to do is lengthier. And Instagram Reels doesn't allow you to go very long.
I gotcha.
But Instagram Stories you can do up to 5 minutes.
I remember when I saw him do what was it Kaiser Sose, Usual Suspects. He did Usual Suspects with like all the faces, like he was every character. That was phenomenal.
Oh yeah. And just did you see the one that he did with the Terminator?
Yeah, he did that for Captain Quarantine.
Yeah, where he walked through, like he had, man, the editing that he did on that was just perfect.
Absolutely.
Like to the point where I was like, dude, what are you using for green screen? Because it's just his light and everything matched up. And he's like, oh, I'm just doing this. And essentially it was like no light on his green screen at all. Like it was all wrinkled. I'm like, how? Yeah. Like mine has to be so perfectly lit, or there's like gray in areas and it just looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I'm amazed I got this one to look as good as it does right now.
Yeah, essentially, like the one thing that I got for you and me was the pop out ones that basically gets rid of all wrinkles. Like it's just an easy thing to set up and travel with, because I deal with every time I try to do green screen, the wrinkles and the shadows that come from the wrinkles always fucks me up, like every time.
Just to let you know, we are definitely going to go over the hour because there was like a 7-minute stint there where you were just talking about Darkstone and films.
Oh yeah, when you were chasing chickens.
I was chasing chickens and not here. So
yeah, but yeah, so if I would strongly suggest anybody who's going to start using green screen to get one of those. It's essentially just like a bounce. It folds up, it goes in a little bag, and it just pops open, and you can set up anywhere. But the wrinkles are gone.
Now the one that I was looking at getting, it actually it comes essentially it just collapses. Like the whole thing collapses and like rolls up into itself. So it's always it's never like wrinkled. It just kind of think about like the old projector screens where you'd pull up from the ceiling and
yeah.
So that, but it's on like a scissor lift kind of jack style.
Mm-hmm.
So you release it and then you just pull it up and it goes until it locks and it's there.
Gotcha.
And it's nice and square, and I love those. It's just I just don't have the $159 to get one.
Sure. For me, the TikToker I want to point out is it's funny because we've had an interesting career together, which is the Real Spade. Now,
great guy, man.
Yeah, super. I mean, when he first showed up on the scene, no one knew what to do with him because he came up calling himself the Real Spade, and he was doing Ghostbuster material. Now, this is all coincidence, but the Gravers were like, who are you? Why are you here? What are you doing? Like, just like,
what do you mean, Spade?
Yeah, exactly. Like, everybody was very thrown off by it. And so I finally, went in and talked to him, and I didn't know if he was doing a joke or anything because it was just so close to what I was doing. But then he was actually, he had legitimate reasons for every step that he did. Like, he used to be a wrestler, and he was called Spade. That's why he says Spade. And then he does Ghostbusters. So he even worked on the last Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah. So I thought, do you have that? Do you have the one that he gave you? Was it him that gave you that one? Or was that the other Ghostbusters that you were working with that one day?
Wait,
the proton pack, the gun.
Oh, no, he didn't give me that one. That was somebody else. But,
but yeah. That thing's legit.
I think it's amazing. It's based on Egon's. It's actually a collector's item that we're going to ruin. But
I need one made off of Peter's. I need a Venkman. I need a Venkman one made.
It probably just has one button.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, just shoot.
Yeah.
But he's a super sweet guy. He's very. His lives are fun. He does games. He does a lot of good backdrops. He actually has props. He's got a full wall of the containment unit from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, he's done a couple of videos using that.
Yeah. And then him and I started talking. This is how sweet the guy is. He asked me if I wanted him to change his name. Like, that's how sweet he was. Of course, I said no.
I would have. I've been like, yeah.
No, I know you would. Yeah,
because I'm fucking Spade.
Yeah. Well, we had some jokes about it, but no. I mean, it's TikTok. We steal everything. It's just what it is. The
number of people that are like, "Are you okay if I use they call me as part of my name?" I'm like, oh, "Fuck, I don't own that, man."
Yeah. Well, I think the Hamburglar is the TikTok mascot.
Yeah.
But he's a super sweet guy. He does great videos. He does a lot of charity work. He does a lot of stuff with Ghostbusters and other Ghostbusters and franchises and stuff. And so I wanted to kind of point him out because I think he needs a little bit more light on what he does. You acted with him in the Stephen King. He was playing opposite of you in brain fighting a Graveyard Shift.
Yes.
That's all I have to say about that. Okay, so the last topic that I want to go over
I need you to do something for me real quick first.
Sure.
Okay, so in StreamYard, I want you to go down to the little cog that says cam/mic. Open that up for me.
Yes.
For the people that are watching the video, I think you're going to enjoy this. All right, so go down to where it says green screen.
Oh, no.
And then I want you to select that you have a blue green screen. But select a background first. Any background that's...
Unfortunately, your browser does not support the green screen feature.
Oh,
it says use Google Chrome. I can actually... Well, I have to log out to do that, but... it would probably turn everything into something.
Everything except for probably your glasses and hat would disappear right now.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm using a wonderful camera on this
You would look like
laptop.
the Invisible Man.
There, give some depth.
They can-
I have a dark side. So the last topic I want to go over is that we all know 2020 was an awful year, like just for everyone, some more than others. But all in all, I wanted to see if you could think of any positives that came from the year on a personal level or on like a general level kind of thing. I have a couple, but I'm curious about what you think about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what? I mean, I know I was joking around before. I was like, yeah, nothing.
Mhm.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I lost my son this year.
That'd
You know,
hit.
other things have gone bad. But you know what? I also started a new job. You know, I made that step where I was like, I'm not happy with what I'm doing. Whether I lose money on it or not, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna explore something that I'd rather, like, I feel like I'd rather be doing, and that's been working out great for me. But the amount of work, last year I got to dip my feet in the water and just kind of get my toes a little wet with acting. But 2020 really, like, I finally got to really get into it, and I've done so much with you guys.
Yeah.
And it was even with COVID and everything else, it's just been an amazing experience that we've gotten so much done, and we've got so many different projects and everything that are going on. A lot of these are getting ready to actually fully come to fruition. I mean, like you said, all we got to do is hit upload, and Spade versus Psy essentially.
It gets submitted to Amazon today, so we will know if it passes QC. It'll be up in 4 days.
Yep, that gets put into motion. We've got Fright Before Christmas is getting ready to hit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've got all these other things going on. ELE episode 1 is getting ready to come out. So I've had so much fun and so many opportunities in 2020 that even with everything else going on, that these are the kind of things that kind of have, you know, I had an amazing family reunion / meetup that went really well. I got to meet a lot of great people. So even with COVID being this horrible thing that's happened in the pandemic and all the other things that have happened, it really has, for 2020, regardless of how anybody else thinks about it, it's really been a year of opportunity for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I've seized every one of those opportunities to its fullest extent.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, for me, I look at the artistry of people. Like, everyone got bored. And so people who hadn't drawn since they were kids, hadn't painted, hadn't sang that song, hadn't recorded anything, so much art has come out of quarantine that is just kind of like, it's all like, even the OnlyFans stuff. Like, the OnlyFans before was very straightforward, but now people are adding cosplay to it, and they're going, like, they're creating inside of their world, inside their little, you know, we're all in our little prisons. And even though everything was so negative, like, and I mean, with politics and all that stuff, I mean, I think on the artist side, like, people are doing things they never would have done before, you know, like podcasts and stuff like that. Like, they, you know, never would have thought to do it, but now that they have it.
I mean, this is my third podcast that I've been a part of this year. You know, this is one that I co-host. I don't really consider myself a co-host on the other ones I did. I mean, I felt like I feel like on the Beard Laws podcast, where I'm on TikTok Tuesdays, I'm a guest of Beard Laws. I mean, we're all there together and we're all essentially co-hosting it. But I mean, I am a guest. I was invited to be part of that show. Mm-hmm. Whereas this is something that you and I had been talking about for a while. Yeah. I was part of, you know, I was part of 4-letter words for a while. So I've gotten my feet wet with that as well. And there's just all these open avenues that, because of quarantine and, you know, like you said, being stuck at home and what am I going to do all day, that these avenues have opened up. Mm-hmm. That everybody has the ability to do. I'm seeing more Twitch streamers. I'm seeing more podcasters. I'm seeing people, artists, like you said, have come out of the woodwork. And I love featuring artists, or I love pointing artists out. I love seeing artwork. You know, just, it's as negative as people want to make 2020 feel.
Sure.
I think more good things have come from 2020 due to the negative things that have happened. Yeah. That overshadow the negativity or the negative things that have happened themselves.
I mean, to be honest, like 2021 is no different than 2020. It's just another day on the, things are just there. But we're care bearing the stare the fuck out of it. Everybody wants it to be good, and therefore it's going to be good because we're making it good ourselves. It's not going to just magically happen. Like we're not on like some weird thing where like these 12 months are bad and these 12 months will be good. It's going to be just as bad as last year. Hopefully not, but for the big things, but it's going to be bad. But if we just keep focusing on the positive, it'll stay that way. Was it fake it till you make it?
Yeah, well, I mean, another one of those things is, positivity breeds positivity.
Yes, COVID.
I mean, yeah, well, there's all sorts of, I covered this in a live last night. And my wife just actually covered this on her Angel 101. People ask, how do you get through hard times or how do you get over, here's the one thing is your life is not going to get better by having anxiety or stressing about things that are in the past that you cannot change, that will not change no matter how much stress or anxiety or whatever that you put yourself through. All you're doing at that point is making things worse for yourself because you're not able to let those go and accept that it's something that can't be changed and it's time to move forward. The same thing goes with something that's completely out of your control, that no matter what you try to do to change it, it's not going to change either the outcome or how things are being run. I've learned to let go of certain things that cause anxiety unnecessarily because I'm the one causing the anxiety. The situation isn't causing the anxiety. I am.
Sure.
And I've learned that you have to be able to move forward and move past those and recognize we're all going to get in those moments where you've got that oh shit moment.
Right.
And you're just sitting there going, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is happening or whatever. Or, people bring up my son all the time. They're like, well, don't you miss him? I'm like, of course I miss him. But I'm not going to sit here and dwell on him. I'm not going to make myself miserable because he's not around. I have to move my life forward.
Right.
But everybody gets stuck in that. Everybody gets stuck in that moment of stress. You've been there. I've been there. We've ranted, to each other when we're just to that point of frustration that you just got to get it out.
Yeah.
But it's being able to recognize that behavior is not making the situation better and that it needs to stop. And you need to step away from that behavior and you have to be able to drive forward.
There's a space for it to release, to get it all out and then let it go. Like definitely take the moment to, cry, scream, whatever you got to do, that the emotions that's built up, you take a moment to do it and then let it go. It's when you hold on to it or bury it that it'll come back and kick you in the ass.
And that's the thing. And that's why I say, everybody hits that moment at some point. And you're going to get there. The thing is you can't let it drag you down and bog you down and keep you there.
Yeah.
You can't let what's happening take you to a point that, because it's easy to lay down. It's extremely easy to lay down and just let things happen.
Sure.
It's a lot harder to stand up, to get back up on your feet and move forward, but recognizing that you're on the ground and you're allowing yourself to stay there, or that you're forcing yourself to stay there, or making excuses as to why you need to stay there. That's where people get trapped, because it's easy to do. It's easier to fall into a hole and stay there than it is to climb back out of it.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, is people need to be able to recognize, and that's why a lot of times when people will come and ask me, how do you get through this? Or how do you deal with your PTSD? I'm like, man, you don't need to know how I do it, because how I do it is not going to work for about 90% of people, because the answer of I just do isn't a good answer for people. It's just not.
Well, they're just trying to find a way to get through, like look for anything that they can get a hold of to get through what they're going through. I mean, you remember the night that the father called me to talk to his son. And I mean, it was an unfair situation, but he was just grasping at straws. Like he didn't know what to do at all.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, you and I have been through some bad moments in 2020,
Sure.
Just not just individually, but together we've been through some horrible things. But at the same time, overall, I think 2020 has actually brought a lot more positive onto both of our plates than negative.
Oh yeah, like I mean, you and I mean, we've had our ups and downs throughout the year. I mean, good God, I mean, it's just been beyond a roller coaster. But I think we've bonded to the point where it's like, I don't think shit could happen in the future. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, what could possibly happen to make me not, stand by that guy? You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like, I've definitely felt that way. I've talked to a few guys, some of the Doesken about it. And because they all come in, they say that joke, who's Toby? I'm like, well, he's this angry guy online, and I have to go through the process. And then,
Hey, I don't need it from the peanut gallery over there.
Yeah. But, I mean, from everything that's happened between the two of us, and I mean, God, we've got some shit hands, like we have. But I think together we make a good deck.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's it.
So,
that's our show.
Yeah. With that being said, John, is there anything else that you want? Any parting remarks that you want to leave anybody with before we close out today?
No.
Every time he fucking does this to me, so I'm not ready, because I'm like, I'm going to let him talk his talk so that I can prepare mine. And both times so far, he's been like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say the same thing that I do all the time. I love you guys' faces. Be good to one another. And for the love of fuck, make somebody smile today. All right. That being said, they call me Toby too, Tobias Doesken, and with me as always, DFlicks, aka John Johnson.
Love
you guys absolutely stay amazing.
Error 404 is now over. Time ill spent that you will never get back.